The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Whoa. Guns up, giddy up, everyone. And I don't even honestly think that we're recording on the board. We're going to have to pull our audio from YouTube, I think.
Are you serious?
Dude, I don't know what is going on technologically. I mean, we're recording because we're live, so we're going to have the stream to pull. But if anything happens with the stream, we are stuck out in literally podcast space in a vacuum, and we are going to be completely we're going to implode. I think that's what happens in space. Do you implode or explode in space?
I don't know, but my audio just changed completely. How do we not have a producer for today's show? How are we producer list? Where is Andy?
Oh, where's our banner? Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
Andy
Jeez,
and
this is a train wreck.
Andy and we are a train wreck. Anytime we're together, shit just goes sideways. In person, virtually, it doesn't matter. We're like an explosive mix.
We need a babysitter.
We do need a babysitter. And first of all, Andy and Elijah are both out of town camping. You see this, if you're watching the stream, you'll see the instructions. This was the power-up sequence, which is 3 times as long as it takes to power up a space shuttle. Jeff Bezos went to space easier in his penis rocket than I have had a time just getting us live on YouTube and Facebook. I mean, you see this. I mean, this and all of these really need sub points underneath. So I don't know what's happening, Tansey. The board says I hit the record button, but the numbers aren't moving. Maybe it's recording, maybe it's not. I don't know. If the audio quality on this is a little bit lower than you're used to, folks, it's because we just pulled it right off of the stream. That's all we did.
It's going to be a really good episode too.
Hey, you know what? The best times in life are when things go not as planned. Then you go off-roading and adventures happen.
And you never know how you're going to react.
You never know.
Change.
You never know how you're going to react when you come into a situation that you never have. So if you guys, what we're going to be talking about today is answering the question or discussing the question, our answers to, is it a crime or should it be a crime to be a coward as a cop, as a human? I don't know. But particularly as a cop, this whole conversation is going to be sparked off by 2 female Detroit cops that basically had a drive-by shooting happen right in front of them and basically did nothing. But
allegedly,
we're
going to get into it. We're going to get into it,
guys.
We're not going to give you what our opinion is yet. And that's kind of a big thing about our show, is that perception is not reality, right? That's my favorite thing to say. Perception is not reality. And so what we have seen is just a small clip, but we don't know the totality. Maybe when we find out later on this episode,
I feel like there's some information that gives us some pretty strong pointers. I do. Right. And guys, Tansey and I started talking about this off camera, and we realized, man, we might have some differing opinions and thoughts on this, and you guys may too. So welcome to the show. And man, we have some housekeeping items. And remember, this show is a sandwich, folks. We put it together so that it's a delicious episode every time. Ooh. And so we gotta put the first piece of bread down and talk about our Hump Day hero story. Like I want you to kind of catch us up on who we chose this week. And if you don't follow us, guys, on Instagram, it's Failure to Stop. On Facebook too,
but not for the next 24
we're
hours.
Already taking a sidebar here. For the next 24 hours, we can't engage on our Facebook page because Tansey here got us our first ban. I'm surprised it took us this long. It took us less than 2 months to catch our first 24-hour ban on Facebook. And what did you say? What verbal diarrhea did you spew out to get Zuckerberg involved in this whole podcast situation?
Nothing, because I'm like the nicest guy ever. And I just I'm never like an asshole on social media. I always try to just like have fun and everything. I don't really take social media so seriously, but old Robert Lambert, he had posted some dumb shit. And that's the thing is like, with the whole Simone Biles thing is like kind of like the preface to this whole thing is the Simone Biles thing happened and everybody just runs off at the mouth having no idea what they're talking about, which I always think is funny because everybody
I heard that Simone Biles hates America.
Dude, it's so stupid. Like on social media, it's like
America.
You see the news, right? Like how many times on this show have we proven that the news is full of shit?
She should have done 45 flips.
Yeah.
She should have done 45 flips for number 45. If she was America.
The news is always wrong, right? And we always say the news is wrong. And we've shown you during the Breonna Taylor breakdown that the news was wrong. Just so many instances where the news was fucking wrong. And then we had the Black Rifle Coffee thing that happened. Obviously, the news is going to get that wrong too. And so this Rob Lambert guy, who maybe seems like he's been a Black Rifle Coffee guy for a little while, maybe not, but my perception of that is that he is. And then he's like, "Did you see where they're coward? They pandered to the media or whatever it is that he said." Obviously, he's listening to the news and believing the news, which is stupid. And just jokingly, right? I use a laughy emoji. Because of my sarcasm, I said, "Man, I'm embarrassed for you. You believe what the media told you, you ignorant swine." But in my brain, like my context was from The Office, like, Dwight, you ignorant slut.
swine.
But I didn't use slut. I used swine. Anyway, 24-hour ban.
You were trying to not use slut and get banned, and then you got banned anyway.
For swine? Come on.
I don't know. Somebody I know got banned for threatening to kick their own ass over something.
They said it was a bully. I'm so not a bully, Facebook.
Bro, these
bully.
bots, at first it's bots, but then supposedly it's human review when you submit a review. Supposedly a human looks at it because it's just these bots trying to protect people from harmful speech because words are violence. So, yeah. What are you looking at? You look like you're feverishly trying to decipher the Da Vinci Code or something.
I am, because like I just clicked on YouTube and it was like trying to catch up, and so all these comments were like, and I thought maybe I said something stupid, but it's not. It's just catching up. So, yeah. So anyway, house cleaning, because this is going to be like a pretty deep, in-depth episode. It's going to be rad. We got some fan mail though.
You got fan mail. You go the physical universe. I'll go to the digital. So what physical fan mail has come in, my friend? Because then I'll read some YouTube review, or not YouTube reviews, but
iTunes.
Yeah.
By the way, hammer the like button.
Hammer that like button, as Boston Joe would like to say. Hammer the like button.
Hammer it, and then head over to iTunes and give us that 5-star review, because that's
hammer
what
it. Then hammer me.
Hammer his mom. When you give us a 5-star review on iTunes, it moves us up on the iTunes charts. We really need help with that. We're on the top 200. We've gone all the way up to the top 45 on iTunes. So that's cool. But anyway, first up, fan mail we got from Bearded Up, for pediatric cancer. They sent us a little care package. Had the hat, had a shirt, had this little cool pen. But if you get a chance, go over to the Instagrams and follow Bearded Up for pediatric cancer. This is that whole movement where the law enforcement officers are growing their beards out for a couple of months to raise money for pediatric cancer. Cure starts now. Next, we've got this from across the pond from England. And let me see this guy's name.
How's this British accent you got going on?
I don't know, but so I think it's funny because I've never gotten mail from England before, and they've even written like in their accent. Like as I read this, it looks like old English writing, like the script. So I'm kind of reading this, and it's 7E Tansey, 150 Jessica Drive. Would you like some tea? So I'm going to open it. I hope there's no anthrax in here. They don't have anthrax in England, though, do they?
I think they defeated it with the vaccine.
So this is to Mike and Eric from Ed Galinsky in England, and he sent us a notepad. Oh shit, that's a whole notepad that's been used. That is a used notepad, homie. I would check and make sure the pages aren't sticky in between. It says, "Hi Eric, greetings from a cop from across the pond." See?
No, that doesn't sound British at all. Pond. I don't say
the podcast, mate. There are 2 pictures.
It's not Australia.
H for you and Mike, and then
I didn't put a shrimp in the mail for you, mate.
Guns up, giddy up, blokes. Guns up, giddy up. Ed. All right. So,
are you sure this didn't come from Australia?
I don't know. I can't do accents.
What's the address? Is it really from the UK?
This is really cool. Metropolitan Police. We each got one of those.
Yes.
A really cool patch there. Another metro.
I traded a police badge one time at Police Week to get a London Metro hat. A Bobby hat.
Look at this. Look at this thing. That's awesome. That is super sick. It's a hat badge.
Nice.
The badge that they wear on the old hats. Thank you, Ed. That was great. The Boston accent is so signature, impossible. Javon, yes, it is. It is hard to do. All right. Well, that's all I have in fan mail life. And our sponsors, Ghostbed, sent us some T-shirts as well. I will mail you yours.
I was wearing one last week. Whose did I wear last week? I gave it to you?
I did. Oh shit. Okay, I forgot.
I don't know if I packed it on the way home or if I left it on the floor of your bedroom. I can't.
And then we have a new sponsor starting in September, and they're sending us a package. It should be coming soon, so we'll go for that. Oh, and big news, guys! Next Friday, the swag shop, the guns up, giddy up, failure to stop.
Wolfpack, baby.
Swag shop opens up. We're super excited about that. It's through Bolstered Media, and that is going to be ridiculous. The shirt designs are insane. The coffee mugs I designed them myself, so if you don't like it, fuck you. But
that's
anyway,
extreme.
There we go. That's all I got.
That's going to catch you a ban. Hey, I want to say thank you to first box.unstacker. Says, sup girl, I want to get handsy with Tansey. Enough said. So that's a nice 5-star rating and review. Appreciate that, Box Unstacker. I don't know, something. 5-star review. Mayonnaise is an instrument. The only thing worse than the jackass that gave this a 1-star is mayonnaise. I agree with you. You guys rock. Keep it up. Man, mayonnaise is disgusting.
No, it's not.
Detroit Tigers 989 says, sorry, Mike, 5 stars. One night I decided to drive around Wayne and Oakland County to try and get pulled over by Mike so I could give him a rock and rye and a Swiss cake roll. Needless to say, after 6 speeding tickets and getting robbed on Woodward Ave, I no longer have that rock and rye, and I was forced to give the Swiss cake roll to a peddler down by Comerica Park so he'd quit trying to jack me off. Sorry, Mike. Oh, and Tansey's cool too. That's dedication. You spent a whole night getting 6 skids. And did you have a nickname for tickets? You know, we called them biscuits. We called them skids. I don't know. Like, did you guys have a nickname when you wrote out any kind of like violation, citation, anything?
What's a citation?
Anytime, like you write a misdemeanors, you know, whatever. No, whether it's traffic stop or anything.
No, we didn't have a nickname for it. We're not gay, Mike.
What the heck, man? Why you got to be so racist?
Because that's a race.
All right. So thank you guys so much for the iTunes reviews. Wherever you listen, we appreciate it. Like you follow on Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, wherever you're listening, or whether you just watch it on YouTube or Facebook. We appreciate you guys. You are the true wolf pack, the best audience 2 former cops could ask for. Every week we get done with the show and we're like, how do you think that went? We're like, I don't know, but you guys keep coming back for more. So, hey, thank you. We appreciate it. Hump Day Heroes, man. Who did you highlight this week?
Hump Day Hero. This was a fun one, man. This was probably the most New York article I've ever read.
I know. You know how you said like you were reading the fan mail in a British accent? I was like reading our Hump Day Hero in like that New York style vibe accent, you know?
It was a good one, man. I feel like if New York was a news article, this would be it. But basically the 2 cops, Rocco, right? Because who's fucking
Rocco
from New York, not named Rocco, right? And then he's got some fucking crazy Italian last name. Not even gonna try to
bada boom, bada boom, bada bing. Rocco bada boom. Rocco
and
bada
Paul,
boom.
whatever his Polish last name is, because he has a super Polish last name. But these 2 dudes,
Polazinski,
2 New York police officers. In Yonkers, New York. And they were at a bagel shop, which is very stereotypical New York. 2
New York
cops at a bagel
bagels.
shop.
Did you go all the way to New York to get them? Where else do they have New York bagels?
So some drunk asshole comes careening down the sidewalk, drunk as shit, taking out all sorts of light poles, hits a 36-year-old woman who is holding a 6-week-old baby. The woman goes up onto the hood of the car. The baby, unfortunately, goes down under the car as she drops the baby. The car speeds
and Rocco
up.
turns to Paul and is like, what's his name? What was his name?
Rocco and Paul.
Paulinski, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Rocco's
no,
like,
Paul,
hey, Paulinski, look over there. You see that? You see that lady get hit by the car?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Boston. I slipped into Boston. Damn it.
I don't know. Your accent sucks just as bad as mine. Whatever. But anyway, they speed through the wall of a barbershop, pinning the child underneath the car. So Rocco and Paul drop their bagels and run over. They summons the help of a few good citizens, and these dudes fucking muscle up the car and get the baby out. But they lift this car off the ground with the douchebag driver still in the driver's seat, which adds probably another 200 pounds at least. And douchebag driver was driving with a suspended license, go figure, but he was arrested for DWI, driving while license revoked, and vehicular assault. But mom is fine. She has a fractured femur. Child is in serious but stable condition. after having a fractured skull.
Jeez.
So
Crazy.
Hump Day Hero, guns up, giddy up to all the citizens and Rocco and Paul for freaking going Hulk on that car and lifting it up. Man, that's what Hump Day Hero is all about. So
I love it. Now, would you say, let's, as we kind of get into today's topic, would you say that if Rocco and Paul would have just kind of like saw this unfold,
mm-hmm.
and then Rocco is like, "Hey man, grab your bagel. Let's make like a tree and get out of here." If that's what would happen, and they just went out the back door of the bagel shop, hopped in their squad car, and rolled on out, should that be a crime?
Well,
Would they be cowards?
Yes.
Yes
I mean, it's like
yes to both. It should be a crime for them to do that.
Yeah, they can't. Yes. Anyway,
It should be a crime if they don't lift a car off of a child.
No, it's probably not a crime. But so I mean, it's a great intro into what we're going to talk about today, because I think every situation is different, right? And
Sure.
we never know how we're going to act in situations. Sometimes it's easy to be brave. Sometimes it's not so easy to be brave. And I want to talk about a few instances where officers were put into situations where they maybe made the wrong decision, maybe made no decision. But then I also want to talk about the psychology behind this, because I don't know that it's just black and white of saying this is very easy. And I think this all started with President Trump in the Hillary Clinton feud. I don't know that it was necessarily all Trump's fault. I think he kind of split that blame with Hillary Clinton at the time, where we were just seeing things and then just speaking on them, even though we had no backstory. And we're calling them cowards right off the bat, or we're making these assumptions, having really no information going for it. And I'll start by talking about the Coward of Broward, the Parkland officer who failed to go into the school during the school shooting in Parkland. And almost hours after that incident, Trump was already calling the man a coward, telling him that he, is just as guilty of murdering babies as anybody. I mean, just some really heinous things that the president said that were hurtful. And I don't know that soon after that incident, you should say something like that. And I know that there's a bunch of cops in here that are already blowing me up, saying that he's a pussy and he's a coward, and that's what our job is. But let's talk about it from a human's perspective, right? I have a lot of fears. Lions being one of them. Snakes being another one of those. Yeah, fucking dude, I'm
Did you
terrified.
say sex is another one?
No, snakes.
You're afraid of sex?
Well, I was, but not anymore. I overcame that fear a long time ago. But is there an instance where you were afraid, and maybe that you were not brave? Give me a story that you were not brave at. I'm sure you've been brave a lot, but is there ever something that you turned into a huge pussy?
Well, you asked me, I didn't know exactly where you were going to go with it, because you sent me a text this morning and says, "Hey, just think about a time where you were brave. Think about a time where you were kind of a pussy, like kind of a coward, Yeah. And I don't know if we're going to get in trouble for saying the P word on YouTube or not. Hopefully not. We'll see. But I texted my wife and said, "Hey, when's a time that I've been, scared, a weakling, wimped out?" Mm-hmm. And she pointed out, in general, whenever I try to get into a cold pool, I turn into a weakling. I'm very scared of getting into cold water for reasons of extreme genitalia discomfort. But the thing that's interesting is I had to leave the room when my son Elijah, when he was a little kid, he rolled over out of bed and hit his head on a nightstand in the middle of the night and split his head open above his eye and had to go get stitches. So of course, we hop up, get him in the car. I'm like, oh shoot, this has got to be stitched back together. Take him to the hospital and they're going to stitch him up. And as soon as the doctors start the stitching process, I about fall out and have to leave the room. I cannot stand by my, I don't remember how old he was at the time, maybe 2 or 3. I don't know. I cannot stand by his side, because I'm going to throw up or pass out. I don't know what it is about seeing my own kids with that stuff. But yeah, I wimped out and had to leave the room and leave my son while I tried to not vomit or pass out.
And okay, so not the best example in the world, but
what you asked me
because you were there. You just kind of chickened out. But you weren't like, there was no call to action there. Like,
I didn't
you weren't
see it
the one
through.
that's kind of had to suture it. But me, for instance, I was scared this week. There was a copperhead that was on my morning walk. My wife and I take a morning walk every
You
morning.
didn't tell me there was copperheads down there when I was visiting. You didn't even warn me to be safe when we walked around your property.
Well, I was watching out for you.
Really? Were you though?
I was.
Or were you hoping I was going to get bit by a copperhead? Were you leading me toward the nest?
Look, I hate you so much that if you fell into a snake pit,
you're like, you will never embarrass me in a restaurant.
I would have done exactly. Yeah, I would have done exactly what the Detroit officers did, and I would have just went the other fucking way. But no, there was a snake in the middle of the road, and dude, I hate snakes. Fucking terrified of them. And so I'm throwing this rock at this copperhead, trying to kill it, and my wife sneaks up behind it with a boulder and just smashes its fucking head with her hand still on the rock. She doesn't even throw it. She just hulks this rock down onto its head as she's straddling over it. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Like, are you kidding me? My wife's this little, small, tiny, she has a degree in French. She lived in France. She's just like, you would not expect her to be a cold-blooded snake.
She walked up to that copperhead and was like, bonjour, motherfucker.
Yeah. But I was like,
enough of these motherfucking copperheads on my motherfucking grass.
I'm dancing around this snake, throwing rocks at it, and she takes it out. But here's what my point is and this is what the show is going to be about. But the Parkland officer who did not go in to the building for 4 minutes while kids were being shot and killed, he was charged with 11 different counts of child neglect, derelict of duty, so on and so forth. And I don't looking at some serious jail time. Yeah,
he's looking at jail time, but I mean, you're bringing this up. I haven't dug deep into this. I'm familiar with a couple of cases. I know that the Supreme Court has upheld that police don't have a constitutional duty to protect a person from harm, which I agree with. I don't think that they should. I don't think any human should be obligated to protect another, like at a constitutional level. I actually agree with that for a few reasons, but how were they able to get around the Supreme Court doing that? Do you know? Does anybody know? Maybe some people know. Maybe you know, Tansey. Maybe somebody in the comments can shed some light on that and we can bring it up in the screen, but I don't know how they were able to get how are they able to charge him in light of past Supreme Court rulings?
Right. I don't know that part. And the majority of the research I did today was based on a few things. There's a few reasons why we chose this topic today, and I'm going to tell a couple of stories. However, I want to talk about fear, though, because we don't know how we're going to act. Now, this officer was the Parkland one. His name was Scott Peterson. Scott Peterson was an officer for 31 years. And I'm sure he did a lot of amazing things in 31 years. This guy's not a criminal. This isn't a man. His children are soldiers in the military. This isn't a man who needs to go to jail, right? This isn't a man that needs to be rehabilitated. Did he get scared? I'm sure he did. And I don't know that we know exactly how we're going to act. And if you haven't been put in certain situations in the course of 31 years, you don't know how you're going to act. And so the first thing I want to talk about is the Simone Biles thing. We hear a lot of cowardice talk about Simone Biles and how she quit. But then we find out after we've made terrible accusations on social media, and a lot of people have terrible accusations. Now, you're talking about a girl who at 13 was already preparing to go to the Olympics. She was a slave to everyone around her, being told how to train, when to train, and she chose that to a degree, sure. But all the decisions in her little unripened mind had been made by other people and pushing her. And she goes to the Olympics and she crushes, and she's the greatest. She's so fucking great that at 24 years old, other countries, communism, by the way, communist countries are like, well, she's so good that we have to deduct points to make it fair for the other people. Right.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit.
They changed the scoring to be like on a sliding scale for her.
Because we want everybody to be equal. So you have all these things going on.
That cracks me up because everybody's talking about like the entitled generation, and they're kind of like pinning it on Simone Biles and saying she's a perfect example of like this millennial, even though she's probably not an actual millennial. but I get the reference, and they're pinning this whole thing on her when the reality is that she's actually bucking against a system that is like that participation culture, right? Like, no, you're too good, so we need to change it for everyone else to make it fair. That is the problem,
right?
Not the fact that someone says, no, you know what? I'm not going to do that.
She also, she's represented America perfectly for a decade. Perfectly. She gives great interviews. She's a great team player. Everything she's done has been perfect. Scoring gold medals in the hardest sport, arguably, in the Olympics, right? The most physically demanding sport in the Olympics. And then she quits, right? And we immediately, instead of giving her any benefit of a doubt at all, the majority of comments I saw on the interwebs was, she's a coward, she's a quitter, she's all these things, she's a typical millennial. One, she's outlasted everybody, right? She's 24. Nobody goes that far. Nobody does that sport for that long on a professional level. And then we find out in the last day or so that she actually had a case of the twisties, which is where something fucks up in your brain, in your ears, that throws off your rhythm. And she's doing flips that if you don't do them correctly, you could fucking die.
Yeah, and you can't adapt your routine. Everything is, these routines are practiced so intently that to switch it up, it could be catastrophic physically. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get it.
And so,
but where are we going with the Olympic story?
We're super quick to call her a coward, to call her a quitter, and we don't really know the facts. We don't know what was inside of her brain. Okay, and then recently as well, we have the Detroit video, which we need to talk about real quick too. And the Detroit video is two female officers. They pull up to a stop sign, and parallel to them is another car with a gentleman, like he's straight out of fucking Black Hawk Down in Somalia, leans out of the car with an AK-47.
There are parts of Detroit that are pretty much like Somalia, though.
Sure, fair enough. And he starts shooting at some random guy. So these two
he hung out that window with an AK and was like, I'm the captain now.
I'm the captain. So he's spraying down the road, and these two females are like, what the fuck? And he's got an AK-47. They make a quick, hasty decision.
That's what we're going to call him. I'm going to see if the news will change all of the, I want this guy to be known as the Somalian Slayer now.
And they choose to drive away. Now, the only video I've seen throughout the interwebs is them driving for maybe 10 seconds. I don't know how far they went down the road. I don't know what decision they made after that, but all I've heard is everybody calling them cowards, calling them pussies, saying that they didn't act. And we're going to get into that in just a minute, what we think. But then, the next story we have as well that just happened, it happened a little while ago, but the court case is just kind of settling out, was two officers in Arizona. And it's a rookie officer and his field training officer. And so the field training officer they get a call, and the 911 call goes like this: get here quick. We need some officers. There's a domestic violence situation going on. And then they say, well, what's going on? They're like, no, you just need to get here. And they give an apartment number, but they don't give a building number. Okay. So luckily the apartment number was on the bottom floor. So now all these officers have to do is go knock on the apartment number to all the different buildings on the bottom floor. At least they're not running like 3 floors up, which we've all had to do when uncooperating 911 callers don't give us the right information. So the 911 caller just hangs up the phone. So all they know is that there's a domestic and that there needs to be cops there quickly. All right. And so your spider senses kind of go up, right? Because we all know how dangerous domestics are. We all know like how crazy that shit can get. Yep. And so now these officers are going apartment to apartment, trying to figure out where the fuck this is. And the field training officers had enough. So he tells the rookie, hey, and this is all on body cam. He says, hey, I don't have fucking time for this. I'm going to take care of this. You just sit back and listen, and I'll handle this call. Yeah. All right. Fine. That's perfect. Every field training officer has been there. You're behind on reports. You're behind on calls. You just need to get this shit going. And you're already aggravated because of a shitty 911 caller. So they go and they finally knock on the last building door. So they know that this is the apartment number to the call. So the field training officer, the rookie, goes to the side of the door. As you're looking at the door, he goes to the right side and takes a position to where when the door is open, the person inside the building is not going to know that there's a cop there, right? Which is good tactics. Sure. And the field training officer is belated just off to the left, so there's no crossfire. Tactics are great, actually, in this video. I've got no problem with it. So field train officer knocks on the door, announces Phoenix police. This is Phoenix, Arizona. So he knocks on the door. No problem. Phoenix police. All right. Now, 9 times out of 10, when you knock on a door to an apartment, how does somebody open that door, Mike? Almost every call.
Naked.
Sure. But like, God, you never make it easy for me, do you?
No.
But normal people just open the door.
Normal people open the door or
Hello?
crack the door. Like, hello.
Crack
like,
the door. Hey,
a little
who is
confused.
it? What's
Yep.
going on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, in this instance, the man yanks the door open, rips it open. All right. That's a hostile act, right? It's not normal. It's not something we're used to. So all of a sudden, what happens to your senses? They spider.
heighten.
They poof.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? This is not normal. Why is he doing this? All right.
Yeah, if you're at like a 6.5 going into like trying to figure this call out, and then the door rips open, you've gone to 7.5, and now you see a gun. Now we've gone to like straight to 11.
Straight to 11. So this trained field training officer who has seen guns a lot, right? And this is different because a rookie doesn't have this kind of experience. Okay. So he does not know how to act in these situations, which is not fair to him. So guy rips the door open and he has a fucking gun in his hand. And so the training officer backs up and says, gun, put the gun down, put the gun down. Now, what the rookie does is what any normal cop would do, and that's go ahead and break leather. And if you're not a cop, your holster has three safety mechanisms. And the first thing is that
some departments are behind in terms of like their level of safety on their holsters. But yes,
but this one was a 3-point, Crytek holster. And so he uses his thumb. You have to push the hood down with your thumb. You have to flick the hood forward, and then you have to pull the gun forward and straight up and out, or that gun will not come out. So meaning if I push my thumb down, but I don't flip the hood forward, the gun can't come out. If I push my thumb down and I flip the hood forward, but I don't rock the gun forward, the gun still won't come out. It's still locked in the holster, even though the hood is forward. So it's a three-step process. Now, we all know that when the adrenaline goes up, the fine motor skills go down. Your fingers kind of stop working. Things get harder to do. That's why we see people in car wrecks unable to manipulate something as simple as getting a seatbelt off. They're shaking too much. They can't even get the seatbelt off. So now you've got an officer who's a rookie and his adrenaline is flowing. There's a gun in his face, and now he has to manipulate this holster in the most stressful of situations. So his brain is, I'm going to shoot this guy because he has now taken 2 steps out of the door. And this all happens in milliseconds. You can watch this video all over YouTube. And it happens in milliseconds. And so his brain tells his body, it tells his hand to break leather and get this guy down before his partner gets killed. So he starts going through that process, and the gun comes out and the gun launches forward and bullets start to come out of the gun. Simultaneously, the man is trying to put the gun down and he's got his hands up.
Right. Instead of like dropping the gun, he's doing 2 things at once. He's raising his hands and going down like toward his knees to set the gun down.
Right, which is fine.
Right?
That's fine to do.
We can see that, right? Yes. Like looking at it with zero adrenaline pumping through our veins, with experience behind us looking at that. We can go, hey, but he was doing this. But that's not necessarily what happens in the moment. When you're looking at this and you have an angle of this situation, like the gun is. So when the hands start to go up, this is the debate that I have. Like, hey, he was told to put the gun down. Yes, he's lowering his body, but the hands start to come up. And in those like milliseconds, it's kind of like these decisions start a chain of reactions in people. And like you and I have talked about, like once the decision was made, it was like the brain, it's done.
It's
like,
done. So
in these split seconds, the decision is made. And now that sequence of events on the part of the officer, it's like, it's unstoppable at that point. Once certain dots have been connected, it's going to happen.
Once the brain has made that decision, and we see this in sports, and I never want to, show you the similarities between sports and shootings, because obviously there's a vast difference here. But to break it down, Big Bird to Cookie Monster style, when the linebacker is going on the blitz and he's coming around the corner and he's got that quarterback in his sights, and that quarterback's got his hand out to throw the ball, and that hand's coming forward. The linebacker has made the decision, I'm going to tackle this guy. And so he starts that process of leaning forward. His head drops below his shoulders. His weight is forward. He's up on his toes. He's blading his head to put his cheek onto cheek to make a great form tackle. And all these things have already been put into place. And the quarterback releases the ball. But the brain can't tell the body to back off in time as he's laying into the quarterback and he gets the late hit. We've seen this on the range. If you're an officer and you have the targets that flip, they face you and then they flip vertically so that you can't shoot them and they're on a timer. Sometimes you have pulled your gun and you've taken that first shot and then the target is turning and your brain knows it's turning, but your finger has already committed to being pulled and you pull the trigger anyway, wasting that round, hurting you in points as you move on through your shooting course. And at the end of the course, you're like, fuck, dude, I knew that target was turning and I squeezed the trigger anyway. And that is because your brain, it takes time for your brain to talk to your hands and it just didn't work out. In this case, in this scenario, I really feel like that officer had major tunnel vision. His adrenaline was way up. His fine motor skills were going down. He's breaking this level 3 holster and he's coming up and he's already made that decision and his brain couldn't tell him to stop. Now, this was a white person shooting another white person, so it did not make massive media.
Right.
Nobody gives two fucks about this.
Nobody cares
case.
now.
Nobody gives two shits. If that would have been a black man bending down and putting his hands up, we would have been
Nobody
fucking
cares
burning
about black on black
everything
crime.
down.
Nobody cares about
gives
white
two
on
shits
white
about
crime. It's got to be opposite races.
But
and
we're
then it's
objective
newsworthy.
here and we don't care about color. So we're going to tell all the stories. So this officer was fired. And I see a lot of comments of cops being like, well, that's bullshit. He shouldn't have gotten fired. He was cleared. Why is he getting fired? He did everything right. The citizen, I'm not saying that the citizen did anything wrong. It's his house. He's allowed to have a gun. But at the same time, if you're going to make decisions, if you're going to rip the door open of your house and you're going to be holding a gun in your hand, you have to be prepared to deal with the consequences on whatever is on the other side of that door.
Yeah, just like that officer dealt with the consequences of his decision. He was fired. Like I don't have like, I agree that he shouldn't have been criminally charged. And I also agree that it's totally fine that he's fired.
Totally fine that he's fired.
Yeah,
we look at Matt Dodge.
Because there's consequences that we need the appropriate consequences to the action, and obviously there is like zero malice. That it is what it is, and it's a weird situation. Like totally different. Criminal charges would be more for me if the guy holding the gun would not have had a gun, right? Like, and there was a gun call. And he goes to reach behind his back or something like that, and not had one hadn't been seen, or this is the guy's house, or whatever. Like, there's a lot of other circumstances where I could see criminal charges being brought against the officer, but not in this case. But I don't think this isn't a case of the officer being a coward. It's just the way the brain works.
But the reason why I want to bring this particular shooting up is, one, because it's in the news right now, but two, because we never know how we're going to act in the moment. Now, the training officer who was used to this kind of stuff, he was able to back off and he didn't take any shots. And he was actually very calm and in control. Now, after the shooting, the cop was a little bit loopy when talking to the woman, and people thought it was a little bit, he was not being as empathetic as he should. You have no idea when you have somebody moaning on the ground, and you can hear in this video, this man going, as he's dying. If you've ever heard anybody die, sometimes it can be very it can be ridiculous. It can be a little bit over the top and it sucks. Yeah. And you're just like, in your brain, you're like, fuck, dude, will you just die so I don't have to hear this shit anymore? Like, it's because it's nauseating and it makes you feel icky and gross and it's bad. Matter of fact, one of my friends got shot, and when he was talking about after he had gotten shot and he had been shot in the armpit and he thought he was going to die, and he had told himself as he was laying on the ground, I'm not going to make noises because I hate when people make noises when they die, because I don't want anybody around me to feel the way that I feel when people around me are dying making noise. So he says, my goal was to just stay completely quiet while I died. And I thought that was so crazy. But in this video, you can hear it. So you don't know what you're going to say or how you're going to say it. And you're going to have outer body experiences. Look, I've been in some crazy, stressful situations. And I kind of like I like living in chaos a little bit. I like when things are a little bit fucked up. But remember the first time that we had our first episode, Mike, and I got on this microphone? I had diarrhea. My voice was shaking. I was rocking in my chair like this the whole episode because it was not natural to me. It was new to me. And so we don't know how we're going to act in certain situations.
Yeah. And I think people put a crazy amount of expectation. And I don't think that it's unreasonable that people who are not cops should there. I think there is a reasonable expectation that our officers are trained to handle. They're trained to the job. I think that that's a reasonable expectation, but I think that there's a line that we can cross that things become unreasonable and people start to judge the situation in ways that are completely incapable of, and that they are ignorant of. And I don't say ignorant in a derogatory way. I mean, in the literal sense of like, you just don't know. You truly don't know or understand what it is that you're criticizing, right? Like
for Simone Biles, for instance, it's like, you've never been in the Olympics. You don't know what it's like to compete on that level. You don't know the stress. Because remember when at first we thought it was like a mental thing and they just thought like it was nerves or something and everybody was making fun of her for that. Like, you don't know what it's like. Even if it was nerves and nervousness and she quit, you have no fucking right to judge her on that because you've never done that shit in your life and you have no idea what it's like.
And I think like, there's a lot of objectivity that can be brought to the table from people who are not cops. This is why I have a problem with civilian review boards, because if they don't have the experience, if they don't have the knowledge of what actually cops go through or those experiences and how that colors their decision making, then it's very, very difficult to judge it. So that being said, I want to talk about Parkland. I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about these Detroit cops and whether or not we think that they were cowardly, and whether or not we think such behavior in those. Where is the line that it should become a crime or not? But the real question is, it would be a crime if we don't thank our sponsors, GhostBed, real quick before we dive into that part of the show. So guys, and we're gonna talk about these Detroit cops. We're gonna talk about the Parkland shooting, and we're gonna talk about police cowardice and the criminality or lack thereof of those things. So we still have time to share up the stream if you're watching it live, or stick with us through this little promotion of GhostBed, because we appreciate them making this show a reality. And then we're gonna kind of get into our opinions on these.
Well, since we're talking about being cowards and being scared, our sponsor, ghostbed.com, is sleep so good it's scary. The sleep is so good on a ghost bed that it is fucking scary. They've been a loyal sponsor of the Drinking Bros for almost 5 years, man, and we love GhostBed. The fact that, GhostBed was the only sponsor that came on this show right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, this is going to be a hot show. We love the both of you.
We won't forget that.
We're going all in. And they went all in for a hot minute for more money than we deserve. So, I mean, GhostBed, I'm 100% loyal to GhostBed. I'll never sleep on anything but a GhostBed. And they've got some new pillows coming out. I'm really excited about that. And I knew we're supposed to have a new ad read. I think we start in August for that. So stay tuned on that. I'm super stoked because pillows are a big deal to me. And my favorite thing about the GhostBeds is that cooling technology, right? So it gives you can stay cool while staying hard. So a lot of times you get hot at night and you're trying to, the coolness of those sheets is what's refreshing. And the GhostBeds do that with their cooling technology. But they have a 20-year warranty on each mattress, made in the good old USA. USA. You could try it out for 101 nights. Fuck, dude. Imagine something you could test out for 101 nights.
Oh, I'd test it.
And if you don't like it after 101 nights, easily returnable, baby.
Put it through the ringer, baby.
But you're not going to return these. Not at all. Right now, GhostBed is offering a flash sale. And they're coming out with some new stuff in August. So this is all going to get redone. This is all based off of 4th of July. It's still available. Dude, fucking do it today because today's like the 30th, right? Get up on that GhostBed today.
I don't know.
Right now you're getting
July 30th.
40% off. 40% off of a GhostBed bundle where you get the mattress and the adjustable base, or 30% off for everything else if you use the code Drinkin' Bros, DRINKIN Bros, Drinkin' Bros. That's ghostbed.com/Drinkin' Bros. Adjustable base, 15 massage modes, 0 gravity, some other awesome features, like $35 a month if you have mediocre credit at best, 0% down, 0% financing. Again, guys, made in the USA. The current promotion is 40% off the mattress and the adjustable base, 0 down, 0% financing. If you don't have a GhostBed, you're missing out. Get you that GhostBed, especially if you're a cop, because you need your sleep.
Yes, you do. You need good rest. All right, so let's hit this Detroit thing. right? So if you guys haven't seen the video, I mean, it's everywhere online. If you look up Detroit cops flee drive-by shooting or something like that, all the videos, the news coverage will all pop up. But basically you see on the dash cam, like Tansey already described, you've got like the front of the patrol car and you see this car come into frame. A guy's walking through an empty old gas station lot or something. And a guy pops out holding a semi-automatic rifle, starts popping off rounds. The guy gets hit. The cop car pulls out and actually strikes the side of this car. Not like rams it, but like actually bumps the car, but keeps going. Doesn't try to stop. It keeps going. And what we find out is that the cops flee the scene. They get away. They separate themselves from the vehicle with the shooter. What they did end up doing, and these are two female cops, the information that I have so far is that these two female cops that were in the car were not like rookies. So they had a little bit of time on the job. It wasn't like they were brand new. And you even brand new in Detroit for a year, you have more police experience usually than most cops would in 5. So, right. They did go back and render aid to the victim. Okay. So like, I don't know the radio transmission or how they set it up, but here's what I do know. Here's what freaks me out about this is they didn't report that they had seen the vehicle, seen the shooters, that there was dash cam of this. This was only discovered by sort of like this general review by command staff of body cam or dash cam footage, right? So like they load up footage and they're just doing like auditing of the footage, and someone sees this and is like, oh shit, somebody should know about this. Right. And it flies up the chain of command. And then one is immediately suspended. The other one, it says, was off on medical, which I don't know if what kind of claim there is. She could be pregnant. Whatever. So like, but my understanding at this point is that there are some charges being worked up, charges pending. I don't know what kind of criminality they'll charge them with, but this is the direction. We see the Parkland officer being charged with stuff. We see these guys being charged with stuff. They didn't shoot anybody. They did nothing intentional, but is not doing certain things rising to the level of criminality. Are they cowards? I say 100%. But I have a buddy of mine who said, what would you do if some dude has an AK or firing rounds? Are you just going to just like pull out your Glock and rock out with your Glock out? You versus the AK, you know, like, or do you do something and reevaluate? They had the chance to just freaking ram the crap out of this car and stop them right there. But then what if the driver dies? The driver didn't, did the driver know this guy was going to pull out and shoot this dude? Who knows? I think we can clearly label them cowards. So I will disagree. I don't know. I don't know them. I don't know if I necessarily want to call them cowards. I really just don't know enough about it. But let me say this. An AK-47 with a banana clip and you with your windshield right there, you lose that fight fucking 9 times out of 10. So I'm not sure. You pull that Glock out, maybe you stop that dude from dying and that's fine, but you definitely die. And I'm all in. When I was a cop, I was all in. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think in that situation, I don't know what I would have done. I wouldn't have hit the gas and hauled ass, right? Like I would have probably rammed that car and tried to get out, and I would have gotten in the fight and I would have given it my best shot. But now you've got 2 girls, 2 women, that it doesn't really matter. Like, let's say you have 2 school resource officers who don't have that warrior mindset. And I've seen some dudes in here that are like, man, I'll fucking serve for 20 years and I'll never back down from a fight. Well, good. That's your fucking personality, right? You were born that way. It's like, like people being born gay, right? You're born fucking gay. So you're gay as shit. And that's your thing. You were born a fucking warrior. And that's great. Not everybody was born gay. Not everybody's born a fucking warrior, right? So like not everybody has this warrior mindset. Where they're thinking, think about it as if somebody's drowning in a lake and there's ice. I don't know anything about cold weather. I was born in Florida, raised in Florida, and I don't know anything about going out on the ice. I think it would be a really hard decision for me to make
jumping out on the ice to go try to rescue somebody because I kind of feel like I'm going to die too, and I'm not going to rescue them. And then you have this kind of conflict in your brain going on. So you never know until you're in these situations,
right?
Exactly how you're going to act.
I'm only going to compound the problem.
So me sitting two women that, you know, like let's say that these two girls don't have that warrior mindset. Now, the female that I was partnered with, her name was Lauren. She had a warrior mindset. I think she would have fucking guns up, giddy up on that. I think she would have drawn her side, her piece and got to work. But I've also served with girls who were really great at diffusing situations, but in no fucking way were they ever going to go get in the mix. They would just call and be like, yo, this one's out of my hands. You come and get it. Cause I'm 100 pounds soaking wet and I know my limitations.
I feel like if you can't have the warrior mindset, then you can't be on the road, bro. I don't think you should be on the road. You should not be answering police calls unless you are ready, guns up, giddy up, man. Like I really don't think so, because like I get it that some people, female, male, whatever, oh, they're really good at negotiations, or they're really cool. Like let them talk to people on the phone or a megaphone. They shouldn't be the primary person answering a call, because this, as we saw when we talk about the Arizona case, shit can pop off like any minute. Any situation can turn from what we thought it was to what it is in a bad way, in a hurry. And if they're not ready to handle their business, you know, like they shouldn't be on the road. They shouldn't be able to do that. And that's the same thing. Like, I mean, we have a whole bunch of people. We have a whole bunch of a whole society, a whole group of like 50-something% probably trying to defund the police, trying to take the word. Like remember when they made warrior a bad word, and you couldn't say you couldn't take like, oh, who is that, in Minneapolis or something like that?
You had to change it to protector.
You can't attend any training with the word warrior in it, because that's not what we're about.
Warrior mindset is what we used to, you know, with Lieutenant Colonel Grossman. We've all read that book on killing, and it's a big part of psychology and policing.
Of course, you want to kill. You read these books on killing.
But being a warrior is a mindset, and you have to train yourself. And if you're not thinking, like, you know, we talk about cops in church, and fucking 9 out of 10 cops would probably tell you that while they're sitting in church, they're not listening to the preacher. They're thinking about what happens if that dude over there gets up and starts spraying and praying. What am I going to do? Where am I going to move next? Where am I going to go? If they're sitting in a restaurant, they're like, what do I do when that guy comes through the door with fucking guns blazing? If they're in the bank, they're trying to think about what happens if this bank gets robbed right now. It is a mindset. This is something that is trained in their brain. Right now, they have taken all this out of the academies. This warrior mindset, this ferociousness, this fearlessness that they're training people is gone, right? Training on the range, stress levels going up to learn how to work these fine motor skills, that's all going away. And if you defund the police and you don't have this opportunity to get the stress level and your heart rate up, how do you know how these people are going to react? I will also argue that in the academy, they took away wolf packing. For those of you who don't know what wolf packing is in the academy, it's the day one where all the instructors get up in your face. What are you doing? Get on the ground. Stand up. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, you fucking piece of shit. Get your fat ass over there.
We got the wolf pack every week right here.
Right. And so what they're trying to do is on day one, figure out who's not mentally capable of dealing with that kind of stress. Now they said that that's bullying, and then that's, you know, hazing. And so they've gotten rid of it. It is not bullying, and it's not hazing. And if there's any time that it's appropriate for bullying and hazing, it is the academy. Because if you can't have a thick skin and you can't deal with the stressors of locker room life, how are you going to get out there on the riots and listen to these people call you names and throw piss bottles at you and do all these things? So right now we're setting all these cops up for failure. We're also preaching that you can't have a warrior mindset. You can't have it both. And I want to read this article to you. And here's a great example, right? And what do you think this does to the minds of all the cops around the United States? So this is in Puyallup, Washington, Pierce County Sheriff's Department. They roll up on a murder at a Kohl's. Everybody says the shooter ran that way down into the woods. They said, does anybody know the shooter's name? No. Does anybody know exactly what the shooter was wearing? They had kind of conflicting reports on what he was wearing, but it was generally they had an idea. So they got together and the canine said, no, I'm not taking my dog out. And they were like, why? And they were like, because the new law that just got passed, this is House Bill 1310, which says in part that law enforcement now need probable cause before using any force. So this officer said, we don't have probable cause. We don't have a name and we don't have that great of a description. So I'm not taking my dog out there to go find this guy. The murderer still has not been found and has that. Now, a year ago, You'd have taken that dog and you would have done a track, and maybe a track to an apartment. Now you have a general idea of where this guy might lay his head or where he might have started. And then detectives have something. Now they have nothing. And we're going to see this all over the country, and people are just going to keep dying. Washington, D.C.'s chief, he had enough of it. And he gave that beautiful speech this week about what are we doing, folks? What are we doing?
Yeah.
So what you're telling this by these House bills saying that you cannot use force without probable cause, we're now putting another hitch in this psychological cycle of being afraid. Now you're like, well, shit, I am afraid. What am I allowed to do here? What am I not? Okay, I'm just not going to have this warrior mindset because I'm not going to go to jail. So I'm going to shut it off, which all cops across the country, a lot of cops, not all, a lot of cops across the country have shut that warrior mindset off because they're like, fuck this, dude. I'm not going to jail for 22 fucking years because I had one bad day at work. Not going to happen. And so they're sitting behind the churches, and this warrior mindset has gone away because they're shutting that down because they don't want to be warriors anymore. They're just going to write citations. And so now they get caught in this moment of, oh, fuck, somebody's got an AK-47 in me and is laying people down. And what do? I haven't trained mentally for this.
Yeah. I mean, but I think like there's one aspect to approach these Detroit cops from a human perspective. It is totally reasonable to think that the normal reaction of an untrained person in the face of gunfire, witnessing a person being shot in this drive-by, in that from a human perspective, I can empathize with those two ladies in the cop car from that human perspective, where if they were just leaving Taco Bell and cruising down, Greenfield, and they see this unfold, chuck the tacos out the window. Well, geez, if it's Taco Bell, yeah, definitely chuck it out. But if they were good tacos, like that'd be sad. But turn around, 180, call 911, say, hey, we just saw somebody get shot, but we're out of here, right? Not a single soul in the world is ever going to look at those two ladies and go, what a bunch of cowards. Maybe, but I understand at a human level, that's a normal reaction. That's what I would expect from people who certainly didn't sign up to run after people with guns.
But we're trying to get people to sign up to not chase people with guns.
Well, I see that's the dilemma. But I think like if you're sitting in that seat, you got to do your job. And if they would have called it out, right? If they would have said, hey, they fired up the mics, we've got a blue, whatever kind of vehicle it was, we've got a male that hung out the back passenger window, fired a semi-automatic rifle at a subject. We have shots fired. We have one likely suspect, one shot, one victim. They're headed this way. And give the description. We need units to try to locate this vehicle. We're going to attend to the victim. Okay, cool. Well, hey, they didn't go guns blazing against that guy, whatever else. Okay, cool. But what happened was they completely disregarded what was most important, which was making sure that was broadcast on the radio so that the bad guys could actually get caught. And they are still at large to this day. And then attend to the victim. If they made a tactical decision that says right now, the most important thing for us to do is get the information out about this vehicle and shooter, and then make sure that this guy, if we can save his life, we save his life. No one would be calling them a coward because they didn't hop out of their car, slide across the hood, and pop off rounds with a cocked Glock at the shooter. No one is going to call them a coward, just because they didn't ram the vehicle. Now, I agree. My first instinct would be to gun the hell out of that patrol vehicle and smash that car. As much as I could smash it to bits, I'm going to smash it to bits, and we're going to get out, guns drawn, and it's on. I'll do both. I'll try to do both. That would be like my instinct. Again, I'm not in the moment. I'm looking at this from 2020 vision like everybody else is. That's what I feel like my instinct would be. But
yes, you and I would have fucked that car up.
But the problem is they didn't do those things. They didn't make a tactical decision. They just turned straight coward. And what indicates that to me is the fact that they didn't call out the shooting. Yes, it's like they caught themselves in the moment and says, "Oh shit, we got to go back and help this guy." Great.
We're cowards.
But then they covered it up. They covered themselves. They tried to just like pretend it didn't happen. And maybe this guy didn't see us there when he got shot, so no one's going to say anything. And maybe he didn't, you know. But to me, like, hey, that's an indicator you cannot be on this job. And anyone who feels like is in that position, like, I don't want to have a warrior mindset, then they just shouldn't be doing the job.
You can't. No, you can't do the job. And then that's the other part too, is like, if you're going to have the warrior mindset in the job, and which you should, I really do believe you should, then you are going to act in ways that the public isn't comfortable with. And that's putting your hands on everybody that gets stepped out of a car. That used to be the policy for Raleigh PD. If you were pulling somebody out of the car, your hands had to be on them at all times.
Yes.
Yep. And then they get patted down if you're pulling them out of the car. So if you really want to be a warrior, you have to do warrior things, and the public's not always going to be comfortable with that. And as a warrior, and I use that word just because it's the easiest word to use. Like, some of you guys are like, "Fuck you, man. Warriors are for combat soldiers." Whatever, dude.
I did see somebody in the comments say something essentially like,
"Whatever.
This is why people hate cops, because you're not the military." We're like, no, we're not the military, but we are.
Yeah, but I've also been in the military, and I've been in a combat situation, and I've seen a dude go full fucking coward in the military. So like in a combat MOS.
Yeah, but I think they're saying like cops who approach cop work like the military. That's why people hate them, because they're not supposed to be militaristic. I don't know what
you go walk up to a house down a long dark driveway at 2 a.m. While you're hearing people scream at each other, and then let's talk about it. And that's where I want to go with this really quickly, is the whole fear perspective. So these two girls, they made a fucking terrible mistake, and they ran, and they were like, "Shit, we're cowards." And I get it. So you got two girls sitting in a car, fucking rounds pop off, and you got one going, "Shit, shit, shit, go, 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 drive, 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 fuck, 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 shit, 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 go, go, go." Oh God, that had a banana clip on it. Because that's what the media is going to call it. So, somebody in the thing said, "He's a banana clip." Well, that's because it's Big Bird of Cookie Monster style, asshole. So she's probably going, "He's got a banana clip. Drive, drive,
Tansey's
drive."
showing no mercy to the commenters today.
And no, I hate when people use semantics. So they're hauling ass, and then she's like, "Shit, shit, shit, no, turn around. We gotta go back. Fuck, turn around, go back." They go back around area, and they're like, "Dude, we just fucking ran. What do we do?" Don't say shit. You know what I mean? Now, is that criminal? I don't think so. Is it fireworthy? 100%. But I don't think you send somebody to jail for that. And now I'll go to the Parkland one. It's not that the Parkland officer failed to do anything, because he did. He stayed on the radio. He gave out information that was pertinent to him. Now, this is a 31-year veteran in his 50s. As a school, he's just trying to ride out his time, baby. That warrior mindset has been gone from that man's soul for a very long time. You know who he reminds me of? On Parks and Rec, Jerry. You know what I'm talking about? Jerry on Parks and Rec?
Nope.
Just a sweet man. And this guy's just trying to ride out his time. And the most horrific thing happens in front of him. And it's a school shooting. And I think the adrenaline went up. And I don't honestly think in his brain he knew what the fuck to do. He didn't know to combat breathe, to take 10 breaths and say, "Stop, assess the situation. What do I do? Okay, let's go stop the threat." That's rule number one. Stop people from dying. He never stopped and made that decision. What he did was allow that adrenaline and that fear to take over, which is kind of natural. It's what we do as humans. It's a normal human instinct. And so we see this in combat in the military as well, where dudes are just fucking going. And then after the gunfight's over, they have no idea what they did. So this guy, but he's on the radio. He's making decisions. He's doing things. He is guiding people. So he didn't go to full freeze. He didn't go to flight. He didn't run completely away. But I think he got stuck in this. I'm really scared to go in that building because I'm going to die. I am 50 something years old, and I don't have the mindset to go into that door.
Yeah.
I don't have it. And that's
which is 100% indicative that he should no longer wake up and put on the uniform and go do the job. Like, and that's not to take away, because what did you say? He had 31 years on or something like that. So it's crazy to think that you could have, like, we saw that too with with that female cop a few months ago that shot a man, he had warrants or something like that, right? And she thought she was grabbing her taser, grabbed her gun, and instead of tasing him, shoots him, right? We saw that. 26-year veteran, all that stuff, like an unsullied career for the most part, right? Like you do this job and you have an active career for 25 years, you're going to get into some crazy situations. You just are,
Absolutely.
right? Like, and stuff that everyone in the comments or everyone sitting on the sidelines is going to look at and go, I would have done it this way. Yeah, well, you know, maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't, but we don't know because you never did it, right? These people actually walked in the shoes, like they did it, right? So there comes a point though where it's sad that you get judged by one incident compared to 25 years of incidents or 31 years of incidents. But that's the nature of life, right? People. I mean, we're all going to look at a situation and make our judgments or opinions on it, and that happens. So yes, do I think that he should no longer have been a cop? Yes. Do I think that he was a coward in that moment? Yes, I think he was. Yeah. Do I think that I know for a fact that the training on active shooters in schools is to go in, even if you're the only one there, and go toward the threat. That is the training. It is universal across all police departments in the United States at this point. If a police department has failed to train their department in that, they have a dereliction of training problem anyway, because there was an old time mindset pre-Columbine where you surround and wait, right? But we learned that that's a problem, and now they have morphed that training into if there's a shots fired school at a call, you go in. I know because I went through the training, and I know because I've been to a shots fired call at a school where a real gun was fired. It turned out that a student had unfortunately committed suicide in that situation, but we wouldn't have known that, right? Like gunfire rings out, and you enter and you deal with it. And I was by myself. So I know that I've been in this situation. Thank God it wasn't an actual active shooter. It's still a tragic situation, but I didn't have to face a gunman, or anything like that. But so was this guy a coward in the moment? I say yes. I say
he was, but I also say at the same time that fucking guy had no chance in hell of even fucking doing anything to that. But
he could have deterred criminal because
he should have done it, but he would have died. He would have. If
we're not the Minority Report, right? We can't charge a guy for a crime that didn't exist, right? Could he have saved lives? Well, we can say, well, he should have at least tried. We don't know if he would have or not. We don't know. So we can't, holding him criminally responsible is an interesting stretch for me. And that's why I asked, like, I don't know. There was a case out of Colorado. I can't remember the year that it happened, but a Colorado court was going to uphold charging a cop with a crime by not protecting, right, somebody from a domestic dispute where she had a PPO against somebody. She called the cops, said, hey, he's trying to get in the house. Well, they did a drive-by, checked it out. They didn't find anybody, whatever happened. And then he ended up breaking in, and shit goes sideways, and they're trying to hold him criminally responsible for not protecting her. That's a very 30,000 foot summary of the case. There's a lot of details to it, but the Supreme Court refused to, they overturned the Colorado decision and said cops don't have a constitutional duty to protect other people. They have a job in which the protect and serve is a motto of the LAPD. It is not a constitutional description of law enforcement. So there is a level at which, how do you hold someone criminally responsible if someone else is committing a crime and they fail to stop it for any reason? They fail to stop the crime. You can't make cops criminally responsible for failing at the task of stopping a crime in progress or following up afterward or whatever. Does it mean that they suck as cops? Quite possibly. Absolutely. Does it mean that they shouldn't be cops? Yes, but you have to handle that at a department level, at an employment level, at a training level. Legally, man, how do you hold the Parkland cop legally responsible for crimes that he did not commit? I don't know. It's tough. I don't know how they're working around the Supreme Court case on this.
So that's kind of where we are here is criminal. And somebody put in there that they should paint a yellow stripe on him and call him a coward. And to a degree, you don't think that Scott Peterson is going to live with this his whole life. His two sons are soldiers. After 31 years, he gets to retire being fired, but he gets to live every day knowing that, fuck, dude, a lot of kids died. I don't think that in his brain that doesn't sit with him in a really bad way forever. And I think that's punishment enough.
He's going to be haunted by this.
Dude, I mean, I can't even imagine, but
haunted.
I want to tell a story time with Tansey of kind of a situation where, mindset got me so let me just tell the story and then we'll figure it out from there. But I was a rookie, and because of my military experience and just because of the way I was progressing going through field training, my training officer happened to go on parental leave because they had a baby.
Gotcha.
His wife had a baby. And so they sent me, instead of going with another training officer because we didn't have any, they sent me with these guys who then formed their own squad. And these were hard hitters. These were go-getters, and they were working a project in the inner city from a street level, and they were absolutely crushing it. And so they had assets everywhere. They had the tax man on the phone so that when they had cash, they could get this cash seized right away. They were working with parole officers, and they just had a really good, they had such a good thing going. And they were so flexible in their duties that they actually were given their own squad room and their own schedule, and they were called the flex team. And they got to write their own thing, and they did great. So I got put with this team for a very brief time before it was actually a team. And I didn't know anything about policing, right? So I'm still very new. I'm still very young, still trying to learn everything. And the guy that took me under his wing, he said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We have a gentleman who is selling heroin out of his apartment. Just got it's a kind of a single story apartment, all attached to other apartments, if that makes sense. And he says they're selling heroin out of there. And so, Eric, what we're going to do is if we knock on the door, this dude's going to bolt out the back, or they're going to start flushing dope, and we're never going to catch him. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this parole officer, and he's going to knock, and he's just going to say that he's doing a residence check. And we're going to call him first and say we're doing a residence check. And a residence check just means that PO they need to prove to the PO that they are actually living where they say they are living post jail. Mm-hmm. So it's not a drug search or anything. So they call the guy. We're all sitting behind a food line. And he says, hey man, this is your PO. I just need to do a residence check and verify that you're living at such and such address now that you're out of jail. The guy's like, yeah, man, come on over. We're here. So we come, he's just wearing a Hawaiian shirt and blue jeans. We're all in police uniforms, and we kind of hide under the windows. Two cops go around the back, and me and this guy that's kind of training me for the night, we're on either side of the PO. Behind the door, nobody knows we're there. So he knocks casually, residency check. And as soon as the heroin addict cracks the door, we have a search warrant in hand. My guy that's training me shoves his foot in the door. We push it back. We grab the guy by his shirt. We yank him out of the house. We handcuff him really quick, scoot in. We tell everybody to get on the ground. And that way, none of this dope gets flushed, and we have the element of surprise. Everybody's freaked out. So everybody's on the ground. It's great. They're all heroin addicts. They're all in the house just using heroin. So there's nobody
everybody's on the ground
anyway.
It's great. That's a theme right there.
Nobody's trying to fight us or anything like that. So we get everything under control. The PO with his little Hawaiian shirt on, he reads off the search warrant and asks, hey, is there any drugs in the house? Of course, everybody says no. And so they go to do the search, and they're like, yo, rookie, stay here and watch them on the couch while we go search. So now I'm watching 4 or 5 people by myself, but I'm not that scared at this point because these are all like heroin addicts that look like Holocaust victims. So I'm like, I will beat the fuck out of all 5 of you by myself. Not a big deal. So I wasn't that worried about it. But while I'm standing there, I hear this creak in the ceiling. It was a little ominous creak. And I look up, and they all look up from the couch. Yes, there it is. So they all look up from the couch.
Wait, was it a creaking like a door, or is like someone's walking upstairs?
Like somebody's kind of walking, creaking upstairs. So I look down at all of them, and they all hear it as well. They all hear because they're all looking up. So they've heard it too. So I asked, hey, is somebody in the attic? And all of a sudden, all 5 of these heroin addicts are like, attic? We don't know about. There's no attic here. Do you think there's an attic? I've never even seen an attic.
What's an attic?
Who would be in an attic?
An attic? Yeah, there's 5 of us. There's 5 addicts.
Yeah. But they go nuts over this attic thing, and I'm like, okay, so obviously there's somebody in the attic. So me being Mr. Rookie, this is my first time working with these guys. They don't really know me. They're kind of annoyed that
You
I'm even
started
there to
plugging
begin
some
with.
rounds into the ceiling.
Sure. So I call down the hallway and I go, so-and-so, can you come help me? He's like, what's up, Rookie? What you got? And I go, dude, I think there's somebody in the attic. And they're all like, what? I was like, I hear something above me. And he looks at the people on the couch and he goes, somebody in the attic? And everybody's like, no, I don't know. There's anybody. There's nobody in the attic. I don't even think. How would you even get in the attic? I don't even know there's not even a door to the attic. And then he looks at me like, dude, this is weird. And then he hears it, and his eyes go up, and my eyes go up, and he looks at me, and he's like, yeah, somebody's in the attic. Stay here. I'll be right back. So he goes and he gets the other 3 officers, and they come back in there, and they all huddle around. And these guys are all guns up, giddy up, seasoned senior veterans that don't want to take the time to deal with whatever bullshit a rookie has going on. So like, what's going on? Like, they just want to search this house and move on to the next thing.
This is the worst, by the way. I'm going to go on record right now. I hated nothing more in my career when I had to be the guy that went into an attic or opened the attic door to go up there, because everything about it is impossible to be tactically sound.
Yes. So they go.
You're basically like, you know what? I'm going to pop this door and I'm either going to die or not. I had no choice.
Right. So
I hate it.
They all circle around me and they're like, what do you got? What's going on? And the training officer that's with me is like, hey, we just heard something in the attic. We think there's somebody in the attic. Everybody's watching weird. Everybody's acting weird.
Some dude was on a ghost bed in the attic.
This out. Right. So he says, so the senior officers are like, oh, I'm not going up there. Fucking Rookie heard it. He can go up there. We'll stand here and watch these heroin addicts. You take the Rookie.
You hear it? Rookie goes up.
Yeah, you guys go take care of it. So luckily the training officer, who's still a really good friend of me to this day, really great guy, didn't really participate in a lot of the rookie games. He was there to be a warrior. And so we walk over to the attic and there's attic dust on the floor, like the popcorn from the ceiling is on the floor. So it's obvious that somebody has shut this attic door. It's the pull down style door that's on a spring and it goes down. And so
it's got that little ladder that folds down.
Yep.
And then you step on it and you feel like you're going to fall through immediately. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he sees that there's dust, and he points it out to me, right? Because already this adrenaline and the thought of me going into an attic has already started to kick in. So I'm not noticing things. All I'm thinking about is getting into this attic. I'm thinking all sorts of things, but he's still calm and collect because he's a senior officer and he's been there and he's done this. So he taps me and he goes, look, and I look down and he goes, see all that dust down here? Somebody's been in there. I was like, oh my God. And he goes, now listen to me. Somebody is in that attic and you're going to go up there because you've never done it before. And now's as good a time as any. We've got enough cops here to protect you. But let me tell you how you have to do this. We're going to pull that door down. When we pull that door down, whoever's up there knows you're coming. So we're not going to do this quietly. We're not going to do this slowly. This is all going to happen very quickly. I'm going to pull this door down. It's going to be loud. That ladder is going to unfold, and you are going to get up that ladder as fast as you can, and you are going to pick a direction, the path of least resistance, and you are going to get as far in there as you can with your gun out, because if he's a cornered snake, he's going to bite you, but there's nothing you can do to stop it. So if there's a real warrior up there, he is going to be sitting there waiting to ambush you, and you're going to take one real quick. And he's like, this is all about
exactly. This is exactly it.
Or you're going to get stabbed in the face. So the best thing you can do, the only thing you can do to make this better is to get up there as fast as you can and break right or left. And so I say, why are we waiting? Why are we going up there anyway? And he goes, because these addicts go into everybody else's house. And whoever's up there is going to try to get into somebody else's apartment through this attic. That's his only way out. And we're not going to let that happen. And he's like, are you ready? And I'm like, I guess, sure. I don't even like going into the attic in my own fucking house to get Christmas lights down.
Coming through. You're like me with trying to run the thing. You're like, let me pull up the instructions on how to go into an attic. Let me review these.
I don't even like getting Christmas ornaments out of my attic because, I think there's fucking aliens up there or some shit. So
they probably are. They can disappear really fast when you don't even know that. I mean, like they have the advanced technology. They're probably there.
So we do the pull down the thing, and I get up there and I start walking up the stairs, and I've got my flashlight in one hand and my gun in my other hand. And if you've ever been up a ladder adder without the use of two hands, shit, dude, it's really hard. Now try doing it with a flashlight in one hand and a gun in the other. It's almost impossible. You're like falling back, you're like falling forward. You're like trying to hug it with your elbows, trying to like move your ass up the stairs, and you're trying to do all this quickly. So I get to the third or fourth step, and I know that I have entered the domain of no turning back. So my head is just about to crest into this attic, and the snake is there. And I know it's coming, and there's nothing I can do. And I remember in that moment saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I looked down briefly at the guys looking up at me, and I said,
and they're
if
all
I
like,
die,
hey.
yeah. But it was that moment that I said, well, if this is how I'm going to die, this is just how it'll be. I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to go full guns up, giddy up, and let this thing happen. So I spring into the attic with my flashlight and my gun, and I'm screaming and yelling, get on the ground, get on the ground, you know, just full adrenaline, dump of the mouth, screaming into the abyss. And my light is just cutting through the darkness of this attic like a fucking lightsaber in Star Wars. And there's nothing up there. And I'm like, okay, good. So I'm moving up the stairs, up into the attic. I'm shaking at this point. Sweat is dripping off my body because we're in North Carolina and it's hot as fuck in the summer. And as I get in there and I just start to take that breath of, thank God there's nobody up here, the insulation in front of me explodes. And a human being just launches out like a siren coming out of the water. And he takes off running like a fucking freak of nature through this attic. And now I've got the strobe on my flashlight. And so he's dancing in the strobes as he's running. And this is all chaos.
Isn't the strobe supposed to make him fall, though?
Maybe made me fall. So I'm trying to chase this guy with my gun out and with the strobe of my flashlight. I'm trying to walk on the beams of this thing. This asshole's running like a fucking track star up there. Don't know how, because I'm trying to go up and over and under, and it's just all chaos. And then suddenly he disappears from my light as he falls.
You never heard of the event, the Attic 500?
No, I've never ran that one. But they need to add that into the academy.
Just set up. It's 500 meters of beams, and you just step on the beams, and you practice running across them really fast.
Yeah. So Jacob,
the Ghetto Olympics.
The Ghetto Olympics. Did I find Anne Frank up there, Jacob? No, I did not. But so he falls through the attic and his leg gets stuck in the beams of the rafters. And so he's kind of dangling. There's screaming of people underneath going, oh my God, what the fuck? Oh, who the fuck is that? And this guy's like halfway in somebody's apartment, halfway in the attic still. So I'm moving.
What if the attics didn't actually know that there was somebody up there? There's like it was some random dude.
He's in because like at that point we're not in the same apartment anymore. So he's
I know what I'm saying is like when you were talking to the addicts, like, and they're like,
no idea.
Up there, like they don't know that guy. Like, what if that dude was just an attic dweller? What if that was like where he had tried to like nest into the insulation and make his home?
So I pull my gun out and like I am new, man. Like I'm like 3 weeks into this job. And so I've got my gun out and I'm yelling at this guy. I'm like, put your fucking hands up. Put your fucking hands up. And so the guy, he pulls himself back into the attic and he's straddling this beam with his, he's straddling it like a horse. And he's got his hands up over his head and he's like, don't shoot me, man. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. And I said, you better keep your hands where I can see him or I'll fucking burn one in the back of your skull. And he's like, please don't shoot me. And I was like, you just stay right there. So I've got my gun on him and I work my way through the attic and I get to the point where I'm close enough to him that I'm about to go hands on. And so I tell the gentleman and he's yelling this whole time, hurry, my hands are getting heavy. And I said, I don't give a fuck how heavy your hands are, you fat fuck. If your hands drop below your ears, I'm putting one in the back of your head. So game over. Better keep them up. And he's crying, hurry, hurry. So I get there and I go to holster, but my adrenaline, again, it's up and everything is going crazy. And so I slam my pistol down into the plastic holster. And so he hears the metal on plastic. He hears the clipping. He hears the hood go forward. And so this gives him his second chance to escape because he knows I no longer have a gun in my hand. And he throws both hands down around his waist. Luckily for me, I have that mindset and I have enough training to know that that's not a good thing to happen. So I grab him by the side of his head and I slam it into the beam and he goes, ow. And I raise his head back and I slam it into the beam again. And now there's like a little blood mark on the actual 2x4. And I go and I give him a third one and I smack it and a little bit more blood goes out all over the, over there because his ear's now bleeding. And he's like, man, stop. Okay, I'm done. And then he lifts his hands from his waist as I hear a thud in the attic. And I go, what the fuck was that? So I get him into handcuffs. And then the next thing happens is we have to get him out of the attic.
Attic family.
So we get him out of the attic, which he's trying to force himself to fall. Like he's doing the whole LeBron James flop, like, oh, my wrist, oh, my head, trying to make us drop him down so he can sue us. So he's purposefully missing steps, purposefully trying to make himself fall because he really wants to go through the ceiling so that he can sue the fuck out of us. So we get down there, we get him, on the thing. And I said, hey, listen, while he was up there, One, I passed a green duffel bag while I was chasing him. And two, there was a thud when he took his hands out of his waistband. And I don't know what it was. So they're like, well, rookie, get back up there and let's go find out what it was. And we get up there and what it was.
These guys are rough on you. They should at least have one other person that goes up there with you. Jeez.
Well, to be fair, my training officer, he was right behind me. So he was up there. So we both go back up there and we find a stolen 357 revolver, like a Dirty Harry style gun. And so there's this gun laying there. And so he had his hands on the 357. And what we figured out later was this dude was going through fight or flight. He didn't know if this was his last stand or if it wasn't. And when I holstered my gun, his next instinct was, okay, here's my chance. There's a hole in the ceiling. I can put one in this cop and I can get away. Yeah. And so that was an opportunity where I was really scared. Now we fast forward 5 or 6 years later and the same incident happens where a man goes in the attic. Guess what I don't want to do more than anything now is go in the attic. Exactly. And I told the officers I'm not going in there and I'm not doing it. And I'm not letting my rookie do it either. And so we ended up getting a canine dog. But that is an instance where you don't know the past of somebody or what somebody's gone through in the past that makes them not want to do something.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing as you learn and evolve, and each situation has different, I guess, senses of urgency too. Like where you learn, all right, this is an unoccupied dwelling and someone's in the attic. We have all the time in the world. I don't care. I don't need to poke my head up. There's nobody here. Right. Versus, hey, this is an occupied dwelling. This person has run from a different crime. You know, there's a lot of things, but sticking your head up in an attic is no fun thing. And you learn now, but what didn't happen is you didn't thank the addicts for their time and leave and then be like, true. All right, let us know if anything else comes up tonight, guys. Appreciate you confirming your address and flushing the heroin. God bless America. You know, it's an interesting mix for sure.
You ask yourself that. It was like, let's say that I got up there and that guy exploded from the ceiling and I said, fuck this, I'm out. Does that really make me a coward? Because I don't know that it would, right? Like in that moment, I was dumb enough to not care and to go for it. But
it's a terrible situation. You're right. But yeah, you said send up a canine. What do you have? Okay, we don't have a canine. Okay,
because great. At some point you're going to be scared.
We should throw up a flashbang.
You're going to be scared at some point in your career. And there's a lot of people, even in these chats right now, that have never really, really, truly been scared and then been forced to make a decision. They've never been in combat. They've never been in a shootout. They don't know. All they can do is say, this is what I would do. And I challenge you, if you're in these chats, to think about a time that something really scared you. Think about a time where you may have gotten claustrophobic, or think about a time where you may not have wanted to jump into some water, or that you came across a snake or a dog that scared you. There is something out there for everybody. And when I went to SEER school, you learn that very quickly, that everybody's scared of something. And everybody is going to break
moths
over something.
I hate moths.
So, like,
moths scare me.
This Parkland officer, this might have been it for him. Like, he's got 2 children, he's got a wife, and that sucks, man, because those kids, they deserve to live and they deserve to have a real warrior in their classroom. But the hypocrisy of the news and of YouTube begs to differ, because we have people that don't want cops in the schools at all, or that don't want cops. And we've seen these YouTube videos that have gone viral where the teachers and the principals will be like, you have no place with that gun to be in my school. But now that same fucking Karen principal is wanting this guy to go to jail for not running into the building like Correct. A fucking knight.
You have to hold some type of consistency to your position, which is why I think at the end of the day, when we talk about, we combine sort of like all these situations that we're talking about, the Detroit cops that sort of like brought this to the forefront for us, looking back at Parkland, looking at the Arizona shooting, where no one ran away, but a decision was made that he's still held accountable for anyway, right? Like that, the damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And you look at that and go, when cops act out of line, when cops have a moment or a scenario of cowardice, is it criminal? That's the question. And I think like there are consequences to our cowardice. That may be the loss of our jobs. It may be civil liability. It may be criminal liability. But to simply say an officer that fails to do something that other people think they should have done in a situation, to sort of like draw a legal line around that, I think is really, really difficult. So yes, consequences are a reality of life and should be, but criminality, when cops are cowards, I think that you have to be able to actually show that a crime was committed. Like, crimes of omission. That's a tough one.
I don't think you can go to crime. I don't think it's a crime because of what your body naturally did itself, right? Because we have fight, flight, or freeze, and those are the 3 Fs that happen when you get really scared. And if you get in that situation, if you get in the most epic, crazy situation of your life, and your body chooses flight or your body chooses freeze, what if he just froze and got shot himself? He would still be called a hero because he died. But we're now going to arrest people based on what their body naturally does on its own, because not everybody was built to jump into an attic and chase a guy down. Not everybody was built to run into these buildings, guns a-blazing. The firefighters who went in on 9/11, there's a lot of fucking people. Listen, I'm telling you right now, it would have been really hard for me on 9/11 to go into a structurally unsound building, especially now knowing what can happen to structurally unsound buildings.
Yeah.
Watching them collapse, like, I have a huge fear of that. So what if I roll up tomorrow on a fucking building that's blazing in fire that just had a plane crash into it, knowing now that people died last time because it collapsed? You think I'm just gonna? I don't know how I'm going to act. I don't know, because I know that's a fear.
Well, therein lies the issue of the people sometimes disconnect the fact that cops are human beings that are put in a job, willing at some point to say, like, I want to try this job. I want to do this job. I want to step into this role. I want to do this. And I understand that there are going to be risks involved in this. And someone can say that, but the reality is, like with so many careers or jobs, you never really know if the desire to do it matches with the full ability to follow through and do it until that moment comes, right? 100%. And it's, do we hold someone legally accountable by when they find themselves in a situation that they didn't create, right? We're not talking about negligence in the sense of they were doing things as cops that they shouldn't have been doing. They are put into a situation that they could not have predicted or whatever, and they react poorly. It's a reality that shootings are going to happen, that they may be legally justified because of a variety of circumstances that and boundaries that we set around that, but it's still wrong, right? Like, it's still a mistake. It's still an error in judgment on the cop's part. And people are like, yeah, that guy should rot. The cop should be better than that. Well, sure. Like, if you expect perfection out of an entire profession, if you expect humans to perform flawlessly, then sure, yes, hold them all accountable. Yes, there has to be consequences, like that Arizona cop losing his job or whatever, and these 2 Detroit cops losing their jobs. There's consequence to those actions.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I'm fine with that.
But holding them criminally accountable, that what's going to get the Detroit cops jammed up is the fact that they didn't report it. They tried to cover it up. So that may be an issue where, like, they were actually, now they became material witnesses in a crime that they suppressed evidence on. So now that is, if we're getting a criminal side, but the fact that they failed to, like, jump out of their car, slide across the hood, jump in the back window, choke out or shoot the shooter, is that a crime that they didn't do that? Even though our instinct might have been to do that, I don't know. I don't think so.
That's if we're getting the full story, because, like, right now, really all we're getting is the media's story. And the chief did make his statement on these 2 females, but I'm curious to know. Like, because the media is calling it a random audit. Was it a random audit, or did they tell them, hey, you might want to look at our video? I don't know what happened. Like, and that's the thing too, is, like, you go to a sergeant and you trust them and you're like, hey, look, we might have fucked up, but take a look at the video because we kind of ran away. but the suspect's
Maybe.
information.
Hey,
And
as
that
always,
sergeant's like,
and when we talk about this stuff, guys, just know that like we're basing it on our experience combined with what we know at this time. Like if different information comes to light, obviously we own our words and our opinions about these things, and we're willing to come back and say, hey, we were wrong about this because this new information came to light. We're only talking about this because it's right in our faces right now, and we're just giving sort of like our take on the concept of cowardice and criminality.
it was a fun episode, man. I'm glad we got to have this discussion. I think it's important that citizens know. I think it's important that cops know that. If you're a cop still out there and you're on the beat, man, just because shit's getting weird and we're all kind of sitting behind churches and trying to stay out of trouble, you still got to keep that warrior mindset, man. You still got to protect yourself. And, we need heroes out there, and that pendulum is swinging. Raleigh PD officer recently just went to the media anonymously and kind of disclosed some information about how short staffed they are and how citizens in Raleigh are going to have a hard time. They're going to have a hard time getting cops to show up because they're just down. They had like 2 officers working in a massive side of town, and chats are down. So good for him for coming out. We're getting a lot of we're getting, this Pierce County deputy who just said, I'm not letting my canine go. And it's because of your decision on House Bill 1310. Great for him. We've got the chief now in DC calling out the media.
Finally,
so
a strong police chief saying something guy. And DC is a cesspool, man. That place is a shithole. And for that chief to say those things, I don't know that I haven't done my research on the chief to know, like, is this a moment of greatness amidst other pathetic leadership? I don't know. But what he said the other day was a home run. I loved it. Sure.
I loved it. Yeah. So we're starting to see this pendulum kind of swinging. We see kind of officers taking back our whole Stallone police thing with the flag. The people in there protested to get that flag back up. They put it back up. So there's a lot of great things going on in the community. So that brings us to our shameful officer of the week. I think it's pretty easy at this point. It's those 2 girls. They are shameful cops of the week. Girls, you got to do better. That's all I can say about that. You gotta fucking do better.
But hey, the reality too is that, guys, this is when we talked about what the media got wrong with Breonna Taylor. When cops are watching this unfold, that we want cops to do cop shit when it's go time. We want our cops to be able to do it and do the job and do it with confidence. And the more we tolerate, the more we do not push back against this narrative and this limp-wristed political bullshit, the more we don't resist that, the more we are going to see the difficulty that even cops that traditionally have had the right approach to the job are going to just increasingly take those steps back and go, fine, eat yourselves. Screw it. I'm not going to do this anymore. And they're holding on. And that's why I say there's this self-fulfilling prophecy coming where you want better cops, but all of this, this political persuasiveness happening, this wave happening, is doing nothing but going to give you the opposite of what you say you want. You want good cops. You're going to be left with those who are unwilling or unable to do the job like it needs to be done.
Right. You're talking about sending social workers, social workers to go do a fucking cop's job. So, I mean, you kind of have to expect these things. If we're going to put pussies in place to do pussy policing, well, then that's what you're going to get. So, you resigned in June. It's just not worth it anymore. It's not. For some of you guys, it's not. But for those who are holding the line, please know that, God, dude, we support you guys. We love you. We fucking.
Oh, we have that utmost. This is why we're doing what we do. Like,
it's insane, dude. Like, thank you for holding the line. We would never tell you to quit. We would never tell you to give up. But if you get to that breaking point, if it's because of mental health, fuck, dude. If just this is too much on your plate, hang it up. Hang up the cleats. There's no shame in that. I don't think there's any shame in that. You got to take care of yours.
There's never shame on going out on your terms. That is the right thing to do.
If you're not feeling it in your heart of hearts, if you're sitting here listening to this show and you said, you know what, dude, I don't know that I have it in my heart to ram my car into another car that has an AK-47 with fucking 30 plus rounds in it with my pea shooter. I don't think I have the balls to do that. There's no shame in ducking out now. Put the badge down, go be a firefighter, go be a, find something else. Like, listen, I can't be a firefighter because I'm not going into a building that's going to collapse. It's just not my thing. So we're all kind of cowards in our own way. Right. And we don't know what that is.
You wouldn't be a snake handler.
I'm not going to be a snake handler. I'm too afraid. So let the snake handlers be the snake handlers.
You're not going to set up Tansey's Copperhead Hunting Society and go after it.
It's not going to happen. I'm not going to fuck with tigers or lions either. And
you're not going to start you're not going to compete in the 500-meter attic run in the Ghetto Olympics.
We saw Logan Lapone. We did see the laws that they post Washington recently, according Bill 1310, which means that you cannot use force without probable cause. We do think it's bullshit and it does suck. I don't know what to tell you, Logan. I mean, except that hang in there, wait for the pendulum to go the other way, or get the fuck out, or hey, get out of Washington, baby. Clayton's nice this time of year and they're hiring. Raleigh's down like 140 fucking cops. So come on down, honey. We love it. And they don't have any real stupid rules like that. Hey, listen, if your department's trying to make you get a fucking vaccine and you don't want the vaccine, go to another fucking department that doesn't make you get another vaccine.
Right.
You're not stuck. You're not bound. You're not a slave to anybody. You're still your own person. You still have the freedom of speech. And dude, I cannot wait until you see this badass swag we have that's going to motivate you to just we might drop some hints this week, but
hey,
dude, this coffee mug is fucking gnarly.
I can't wait to be drinking out of that coffee mug, actually. Hey, real quick before we go, there's an article on the Washington Post. Have the charges been dropped against Peterson in the Parkland thing?
I don't know.
It says here's the lawsuit that was thrown out by U.S. District Court Judge Beth Bloom. I don't know if there was one thrown out and then a new one came to light, like new charges.
I think it had to be dropped because it's not that he failed to act, because he acted. He just didn't act the way that they want him to. I mean, it's not like he just cowered and did nothing. He got on the radio. He told people where to go. He gave out a building number. I mean, it's not that he failed to do.
U.S. District Judge Beth Bloom said neither the school nor sheriff deputies, this is from the Washington Post, had a legal obligation to protect students from the alleged shooter, Nicholas Cruz, who is accused of killing 17 people. Her reasoning, the students were not in state custody. And so it wasn't like they died in the custody of the sheriff's department or a police department or, that officer or whatever else. Interesting. So it does look, because some people in the chat were saying I thought that the charges were dropped, and I did pop up look on Google while we were chatting, and it does appear as though whatever charges were being brought in this lawsuit, a judge threw it out in the U.S. District Court.
Cowboy, you said the ideas in this video is why you're joining the military. Use of force is not a liability there. Well, go watch fucking Black Hawk Down. Go watch 13 Hours. Go watch all of those things. It's even more ridiculous in the fucking military. Wait until people are really shooting at you, but because of diplomatic reasons, you can't fucking shoot back. So, if you're going to the military to escape that, you are going to be extremely disappointed. Because there are going to be times where people are on cell phones and you know that they're calling in an IED, and the people are going to be like, sorry, they can just blow you up if they want to, but that's not enough to shoot them. So I don't know. I would probably
you could not police in the United States with the same rules of engagement that vary constantly in a real world combat situation or different conflicts. You couldn't do that. You couldn't have one rule of engagement, in Chicago versus a rule of engagement in, Columbus or wherever. It just wouldn't work that way. That's not how a lawful society operates.
Golf and Gun says, so the school's liable since they were in school's custody? No, I don't think. Listen,
no.
We can't put blame. Look, shit sucks, man. You had a fucking
the shooter is who is to blame.
That's who is to blame, right? Like
the shooter is to blame.
I don't know how.
That's like
why
saying
the president decided
the
to open
parents
his
are to blame because they let
mouth
the kids go to school. No, absolutely not. The shooter is to blame
on that. I don't know why the sheriff of Broward County decided he wanted to talk. I don't know why everybody made it about this fat fucking 31-year police veteran of 50 something years old. I'm not sure why we thought, and I think it's because we just have this attack mentality where you just want to be constant. It's kind of like how we all treated Amber last week, where it's like they say something and everybody just wolf packs on them, and that they're kind of the scapegoat at the time, or there's somebody easy to fuck with at the time.
Poor
I don't know
Amber.
why we do that. But a good human being doesn't do that. And we should look at the totality of the circumstances. And if you want to out that guy, that's fine. But we need to have more facts. We need to have his side of the story. We need to know what's going on, where his training was, what his mindset was. I mean, dude, you didn't know if this dude had fucking the flu that day. I don't know.
There's a lot of factors, and
these
the
women
reality
could have been pregnant.
The reality
this girl
is
on
this.
medical leave in Detroit, she could have been fucking pregnant, and she's like, "I've got a baby. I'm not losing my baby tonight. You drive this fucking car." And the other girl's like, "Fuck it, let's go. I'm out. I don't want to deal with this shit anyway." I mean, these two dudes are obviously fucking handling street justice the way they want to handle it anyway, and that's what society wants us to do. So fuck them. And we just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess, final thoughts. To be a police officer, you really need to be prepared to do it. Man, we shouldn't have fat slugs that can't do the job. They can't. If you would have gone down in that attic, you need somebody that can come up there and help you. You need someone that can deal with the situation. You need cops that are capable of doing what the job may require. And so you need to be ready. You need to be sharp. You need to be involved. You need to be invested. And we stand behind every man and woman that's doing this job that is invested in being ready. But we also recognize sometimes we haven't faced the test that's going to show us it's time that it's indicative that we're not ready anymore. And so when that happens, if the situation, sometimes we're lucky, guys. Sometimes it is straight just the blessing of God that we find ourselves in a situation where we're like, that could have been bad. I wasn't ready for this, or I learned this. I didn't know this going into the situation. And it's only by the grace of God that I am alive, or that no one was hurt and everyone went home. And you take that lesson and you learn it and you apply it to the next time. And you say, okay, is this a failure of my convictions? Is this a failure of my ability to do the job? Can this be fixed? Can this be remedied? We need to move forward. Should I be doing this? Should I not? You always have to have the fire in the belly, and you always have to be improving. And when you come to a point to where you're just a slug, well, then it's time to face those decisions. You know, that's a reality of the situation, so that we have less moments of cowardice. But
Golf and Gun says cops are second guessing their decisions since brass and politicians don't back them up later. And maybe in person, Golf and Guns, you're going to love this swag, dude. Like, cause this, like, we're fucking guns up, giddy up on shitty leadership, because yes, the leadership is defund police. No. How about fucking restructure leadership and stop making things to be so political? And you've got these chiefs that are, you know, it's just, they're climbing political ladders instead of looking out for the community. And that's why police chiefs need to be voted in and be able to be voted out, just like a sheriff. And so we're all in on that. Guys, this has been a fun episode. Mike, you got anything else, homie?
Whew, man, we had opinions and situations flying all over the place. This was like a war zone. This episode is a war zone.
We've got a big one coming up. We're just doing
we should get a medal. We should get medals for this.
Yes, we should.
We should get
our next
citations
episode.
for
I
this.
don't even need to say what the title of the next episode is, because I still don't know if we'll have enough research to really dive into that one yet. But we've been studying for a big, long.
We're going to talk
of a big case. So
we're going to talk about. I think we should say what we're going to talk about so we can get people pumped up.
Okay, that means we're going to have to be ready for it.
Hey, we gotta force ourselves to get ready and do it. We're going to talk all things Capitol riot, or insurrection, or protest, or a whatever. I think there's a lot of opinions about this. Now there's Senate hearings going on. Lots to talk about. What happened? What's our take on it from a police perspective of this January 6th craziness? And we're going to dive into it next week. So come ready. Share the show up, guys.
Officer that has firsthand information.
You're a Capitol Police
officer.
officer. Yeah, reach out. Have somebody reach out to us. All off the record stuff. We never share information from those that we talk about. Like,
fuck IA.
Yeah, fuck IA, bro. So not today, IA.
Not today, baby. Swag shop coming next weekend. So save your money. Payday's today. Just set down probably give yourself 50 bones to get some
Someone's
good swag
listening
going.
during surveillance. Tucker Carlson is listening during surveillance. That's awesome.
Fuck yeah, dude. Let's go.
Tailgate Legends tonight. Yeah, Boston Joe find. Yeah, Joe over there. Like, go listen to your Tailgate Legends show with Tansey.
Dude, the Tailgate Legends
Boston
show that we
Joe.
did with you was the funniest. That was the funniest episode of all time. So if you haven't heard the Tailgate Legends show on Drinking Bros
if you
Sports,
haven't gotten enough of
Mike
us
the Cop,
today,
that was the funniest shit I've ever been a part of. Absolutely fucking ridiculous.
we did a show live
anyway.
last week in
Yes,
your
we did.
distillery. So, all right, we've talked enough, man. We're drumming on. All right,
Mike the
guys,
Cop,
thanks so
Eric
much for tuning
Tansey.
in. And when you listen to the audio, sorry that it's going to suck because I don't think I recorded this. All right.
Guns up, giddy up.
Failure to can't stop, won't stop. Failure to stop.